Welcome our next guest speaker, Jason Paden. Jason is a Sage College of Albany alumni who struggled with severe symptoms and diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder throughout his young adult life and college career. Almost dropping out of college multiple times due to his illness, he finally completed his associate's degree, was hospitalized, and finally began a 10-year-long successful recovery and return to work at Rehabilitation Support Services. Today, he is healthy, happy, and the patented inventor and co-founder of the OOPS Loop, which he hopes to develop into a vocational rehabilitation program for individuals in recovery from major mental illness who want to return to work. He's also a mental health motivational speaker who has spoken all over the Northeast and uses his life story to let people know that recovery is truly possible and life can be good for us all, even those with a major mental illness diagnosis, like him.
Hi everybody, I'm Jason Paden, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here today at this great event. And I also want to thank Taylor Locke and SUNY Albany and all the area schools for what they're doing. This is really important work, and NAMI and everybody just for being here today. It's so important. I'm so honored to be standing before you feeling as well as I do. When I look at that video and stuff, it's just such a, well, there's no escaping the reminder of what your life was like before, but I'm just so happy to be here, and it's incredibly close to my heart, this mission that I now have to create a space where mental health recovery happens and also meets meaningful work. This is a future project that I want to work on. It will be a stepping stone for those who are ready to help improve their lives and take the next step from disability, which I was on, to employment. And that video that you just saw was a small snapshot of my life showing some of the challenges I faced from when I was little to the age of 35. It mostly illustrated my mental health time of crisis when things were at their worst for me, and my illness came to a head, ending me in the hospital, which thankfully happened because then I learned that I was accurately diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which is a combination basically of bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And with that diagnosis and understanding, I began researching and learning all I could about it for 10 solid years. And during that time, between 25 and 35, I could not really work because I already had a full-time job, and that was the job of mental health recovery. It was all-consuming and hard, but the work paid off in the long run, and today I'm 50 and doing well. And we can heal. We can heal. Our brains can get healthier. Maybe not cured, but we can improve. They can get better, much better. And it often takes time, and being patient is important, but recovery can happen. And I'm obviously not the only one who's experienced it. Just look into the amazing work of the Dr. Daniel Amen Clinic. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. Dr. Daniel Amen, yeah. And he's got a lot of books out there, and you'll see the proof that he has scientifically documented in brain scans working with individuals on their recovery with mental illness and brain trauma. For me, though, I was self-taught. I just found out about Dr. Amen just about a year ago. I kind of learned on my own, and even though I was under medical supervision and therapy. What I do recommend, however, for people today who are working on their recovery is advocating for yourself and your future potential recovery, but don't do it in isolation. Do it with medical providers and the people that you love. Let them know. Most important, first know that recovery is real. And that's why I'm standing here today to talk about and to work towards, and not only that reason, but a little while back in my past, when I was researching throughout those years online in my recovery, I'd come across information about a national health organization that I'd never previously heard of. And it has a training, and it helps individuals talk about their mental health story to the public. I had come far in my recovery at that point, but my social anxiety was still really high. Doing this was a horrifying idea to me. But part of me knew that if I could get over the fear of speaking, I thought I would enjoy it. So one day I summoned the courage and I called the organization called NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And thank you, NAMI, by the way. I nervously spoke to the man who answered the phone. He was the program coordinator of NAMI New York State at the time and introduced himself as Paul Klein. I explained my interest in their presentation program that I'd seen on their website that they called Inner Own Voice. He said, you know, it's funny, Inner Own Voice training only happens once a year. It just so happens that the training is next weekend. And I'm somebody who believes that things happen for a reason. I think, I believe in that. It just seemed meant to be, so I signed up. And soon I was learning the training with Paul at the retreat in Catskill at the time with the other peer students. And though I was scared, it was mostly wonderful. And for the first time, I was out without my family on a little adventure on my own. I pushed myself with inner own voice, and I spoke many places that year, scared much of the time. Though I did notice that every time I spoke publicly, my fear became less and less. In exposure therapy, my therapist had said at the time, and after speaking at multiple NAMI affiliates, churches, agencies throughout the years, I realized I did in fact love to present, and went on to eventually create my own hour-long multimedia presentation about my life, but with my own creative spin on it. See, I haven't mentioned it yet, but I'm kind of a creative person. I went to Sage College of Art and Design, Russell Sage, and used all that I learned to make many creative projects throughout the years. I always would say that creative projects were my first antidepressant before I even knew it. I was inventive and multifaceted artist who developed, wrote, and produced many small family-oriented holiday productions, and before I became really ill at 25. I even created a 9-hole full-size castle miniature golf course earlier that you could putt through inside and out, and it would also be modular. It could fold up, and it would travel all around New York State. But we fast forward now to today, and my most recent creative endeavor, which I have a table for outside, I successfully patented a new invention, which is an accessory for the smartphone called the Oops Loop. And this isn't a sales pitch for the Oops Loop. It's part of my story, and I just want to talk about it a little bit because it prevents the phone from dropping, which makes many people happy because many people have phones and many people drop the phones. I invented it over 5 years ago and went into the process of creating an LLC with my current business partner, someone that I previously mentioned, Paul Klein, who's outside actually out there at the table, who happens to be a very talented retired engineer and is obviously a strong advocate as well for mental health because of his work with NAMI. I knew he was the perfect choice to work with in this endeavor since our ultimate vision for the Oops Loop is to have it be made in America by people with mental health disabilities in a vocational rehabilitation program that provides a safe space eventually to train people the soft skills necessary to return to work from disability and teaches aspects of mental health recovery simultaneously, all while being paid. That's the big dream that we have. For example, the Oops Loop is basically it's a simple product, it's like a craft product, and it can be broken down into pretty much repetitive steps, simple steps. This repetition can be considered like busy work that you can kind of, just work on, but you can actively listen while you're doing it. And so at the same time, the person listening could be listening to coping skill lessons, all while they are working on this project at the same time. It will be a stepping stone to help individuals who want to and feel like they can return to work. Like me, I was on disability for a long time, and I wish that this had existed back then. When I finally mustered up the tremendous courage necessary to return to the workforce as a peer advocate. There were no supports like we're talking about. I was uniquely fortunate to have a highly supportive boss, which was wonderful, but even still I found it incredibly difficult to go from being constantly at home on disability to suddenly drastically in the work environment at a job. And I had to learn, I had to learn the hard way, and it really was quite jarring. And it is for people. And I almost gave up a number of times. My disability was my mental health, so stress is a trigger. And if I got too stressed out, I would spiral and become symptomatic. I believe the mental health vocational rehabilitation program that we want to create can be that program that I'd love to create with the Oops Loop. In fact, we created another version of the OOPSL for those with interest in recovery from anything, not just mental health, but anything. The OOPSL Recover Ring is what we're calling it, which features an accessory on the bottom, like a ribbon, a green ribbon or something like that can be attached to the OOPSL, and for that cause. We humans are resilient, and we can recover from so many things in life. Mental health is obviously near and dear to my heart, but we could create recovery rings for countless causes, from domestic violence to PTSD to cancer awareness, and partial proceeds of the recovery ring sales can go forward and towards fundraising for the cause, all while paying our workers for the vocational rehabilitation program. So it's kind of a win-win-win, we think. I want the OOPSL Recovery Rings to be more than just a gadget that protects the phone. It's way more important to me, this mission. I want it to be a symbol for the human spirit, for the world to see on a device that most people have in their hands. This symbol represents the hope and strength of humanity and the human heart, and how it can be stronger and more than our diagnosis, whatever it may be. Think of it this way. Phones, they fall. We fall. Now phones can recover, just like us. Recovery is real. Thank you.
You should drop the mic on
Sure.
that one.